Hi everybody, I'm Chef Nick, and today on Nick Ruins Ethnic Food, we're getting ready for Oktoberfest by making one of my favorite sauces for schnitzel. We are going to be making Zigeuner Sauce, also known as Gypsy Sauce, also known as Hungarian Sauce. You'll see a lot of places will kind of use these names interchangeably, as Zigeuner, meaning gypsy, is somewhat insensitive and not terribly well supported by the Roma community, so a lot of places either keep the traditional German name for it, hoping that Americans won't recognize it, or use Hungarian sauce, which, given its reliance on peppers and paprika, is not entirely out of place. Let's get started making the mise en place for our Zigeuner sauce. Always like to start with the vegetables and then do the bacon, which we're going to use to render and create the base for our sauce. Red pepper, green pepper, Spanish yellow onion. I prefer these for this sauce because they're a little bit sweeter. We'll be adding some heat with that paprika and probably a touch of hot sauce later on. And then I always like adding mushrooms to my Zigeuner sauce. It's not 100% traditional, but it is moderately common. My favorite way to think of Zigeuner sauce is to make a Jaeger sauce or a Hunter sauce, and then just keep going. I skipped the boring part, or I'm just getting everything prepped up. So we're just going to do a julienne cut on our peppers, our onions. You can check my julienne video on the onions if you need a how-to on that one. And then we're just going to thinly slice these mushrooms. Veggies are all chopped up and ready to go. Nice thin julienne on our peppers and our onions. We want them to be fork tender, but we don't want to totally dissolve them. As thin as you can possibly get with the mushrooms is kind of your best bet. They are basically 95% water, so they act a lot like a sponge. We're going to want to cook those down, but we also want to make them very thin so they kind of act as a sponge and soak up the other flavors of the sauce. Last bit of chopping we have to do for our Zigeuner sauce is getting some bacon sliced up and ready to render down into our pan. So I got 3 slices here, just going to cut those in half, make it a little easier to work with. Right down the middle. Cut those up. You don't have to worry too much about these things being stuck together. They are going to unclump as we saute and render the fat out of them. Let's start cooking our Zigeuner sauce, or Hungarian sauce. I really should keep calling it Hungarian sauce. Don't want to upset anybody. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start rendering down our 3 slices of bacon that have been sliced up real nice and fine. Just going to start it on low heat. I always like adding my black pepper right to the bacon right at the beginning. I find that this helps kind of ease out some of that like sharp peppery flavor, but it still gives us a little bit of heat. We're able to maintain some of that fruitiness that comes when you use a good black pepper, which I always do. I didn't use too much. If you think I'm overdoing it, remember, we're going to be cooking off a lot of that sharpness, so it's going to give us some nice underlying texture. Okay, now, our bacon, nice and crisped up. I don't want to burn it. I just want to make sure I get as much fat out of there as possible. You see the foaming that's kind of happening around the pan? That lets me know that this bacon is pretty well crisped up. And part of the reason we went so fine on our slice for the bacon is don't want it to get rubbery when we start adding all the moisture. So I'm not going to pull the bacon out. What I am going to do is I am going to add about a tablespoon or so of tomato paste. And what I'm going to do here is a technique called pince or pinçage. And what I'm going to do there is that will cook the tomato paste. Add a little bit of color to it. That'll cook some of the acid off, bring out a richer, more umami-forward flavor. And this shouldn't take too long because I'm basically just doing it with bacon bits. Pince is usually done with mirepoix already in the pan. But with the onions and the peppers and the mushrooms, we're going to get in a lot of moisture. So we're not going to get that caramelization as quickly. Right, you see that didn't take very long. Less than a minute, and we are all ready to golden brown and delicious. Now we don't want to burn this, so now we're going to add our moisture-heavy vegetables. Help deglaze that pan. Start getting things rolling and developing those flavors. We've been cooking our onions and peppers here for about 5 minutes. We got some good color. However, we're starting to run a little dry in the pan. That's okay. We are going to add almost pure moisture in these mushrooms. We're going to start letting these cook down. They're going to soak up a lot of that pinced tomato flavor, which is going to be great. And then once these mushrooms are cooked and starting to kind of curl around the edges, we're going to add our stock and our seasonings. All our vegetables are cooked down. The onions are basically translucent. We're starting to get some browning around the edges of the mushrooms, letting me know it's time for our next step. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sprinkle in some paprika. The fresher the better. We want that bright red color. I'm going to go ahead and mix this in real good because I'm about to add the stock. So what I want to do is I want to get this incorporated into the vegetables before I add the liquid so we don't get any clumps that just won't break down. All right. Now, traditionally, this is made with veal stock. I'm not buying veal bones on my budget, so this is pork stock. 2 cups worth, 1 pint. I use that pork stock quite a bit around the house for various things. And I'm just going to deglaze this pan. Kick that heat up to high. And make sure we're getting all the crunchy bits off the bottom that have kind of built up over the course of making this sauce. And then once I get to a rolling boil, I'm going to check salt and pepper, and then I will thicken it. We got a nice rigorous boil going here. I'm deglazed. When I scrape away, I see that, we don't have any crunchy bits, no fond left in the bottom of this pot. So I'm going to check the broth for flavor. Nice, beautiful red-brown color. Got that nice sharp paprika flavor. I'm going to add a little bit more salt. And then just a drop or two. Oh, the Valentina extra hot. I was not able to get my hands on Hungarian paprika for this, which is what would be traditional. So this is just Spanish sweet paprika.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Okay, Alexa's listening. The back side of the spoon. All right, flavor is great. Now I'm just going to thicken. I got 2 tablespoons of cornstarch and about half that much water in a canning jar. That way it's all set up and ready to go for me.
I don't know that one.
I'm just going to add that. Drizzle it in. Give it a mix. Alright, cornstarch has been added. We've been simmering for about a minute. Cornstarch is great thing about cornstarch is that the thickening happens real quick. So once it comes back up to a boil, it's basically done thickening. I'm just trying to cook that starchy flavor out. Let's check the consistency of our sauce. Beautiful, beautiful nappe and the flavor. That'll do. Smoky, paprika, just a hint of spice, but all those flavors are still in there. Very, very rich. This is going to go great with some fried pork schnitzel. I don't have the schnitzel ready yet, but let's go ahead and try that sauce one final time. Got a good scoop in here. All right, so as you can see, still screaming hot off the stove because I never put anything that's cooled down into my face. Peppers are fully cooked. Got a nice caramelization, nice sweat on the onions. Mushrooms are almost dissolving, which is kind of the perfect way to have them in this sauce. Let's give her a shot. So just a couple of minutes in the liquid, that paprika really blooms, getting that smokiness, that dried peppery flavor. I was right, got the exact right amount of hot sauce in there. Just a little kiss, kind of let you know it's there. That's going to help cut through some of the greasiness or the fried breading on our schnitzel that we'll have in a little bit. Sweet, smoky, super savory. This is my favorite way to enjoy schnitzel, though eating it by the spoonful, kind of hard to resist. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.